I relapsed. I relapsed. Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Today's video is probably going to be one of the hardest videos I'm ever going to make. I'm actually really scared right now, but I just know that as scared as I am, if this video helps just one person recover from an eating disorder, then it's going to be worth it. So today's video is going to be on how anorexia almost killed me. When I was a younger kid, I actually I had an okay relationship with food. Okay in the terms of, like, I was not fearful of food. I wasn't scared of food. It was actually kind of the opposite. I loved junk food. I was a really unhealthy eater. I used to have Hungry Jacks, McDonald's, ice cream, chips. I loved food, and because of that, I was a little bit more chubbier than the rest of the kids my age. I'm Syrian, so coming from an Arab background, food is celebrated. Food is the be all and end all. So we are very open people. My family is not sensitive at all. There is not a lot of regards to feelings. So I remember there used to be times when I was a little kid where I used to walk into a room with my extended family, and they would be like, "Oh, Mariah, into some nani," which is like, "Oh, Mariah, like, you've gained weight." Or when we'd be at dinner and I would have a plate of food in front of me, and my aunties or family would just take like chips and food off my plate, telling me that I didn't need it anyways because I was a little bit chubbier. And even like in school, it was nothing at the time, because when you're kids, you don't really think about what you're saying. And it wasn't even teasing, it was just comments like calling me Big M, because we had like this like chocolate milkshake in Australia, and my name's Mariah, so I was like Big M. And just all these things that I didn't really think affected me, but obviously I think may have stayed in my subconscious. So all of like these comments build up this lack of self-love that I've carried on throughout the rest of my life. Just so you guys can get a sense of like where I was at the time, I was in year 6, so I think like 12 years old, I don't know, and I weighed 72 kilos. So I was carrying a lot of extra weight on me. And in primary school, I was always like, I was not attractive at all. I didn't get any attention. I was a guy's girl. Like, I was the one who would go up to the girls and like tell them that the guy liked them and all this stuff. It didn't really bother me until I got into high school. And when I got into high school, I went to an all-girls school, and suddenly I was thrown into this environment where there is all of these beautiful girls around me and all of these thinner girls around me, and I just looked at them and I wondered like why I didn't look like that. And it wasn't until halfway through year 7 that I actually needed braces. And when you get braces, they tell you that there is a lot of things that you can't eat. So you can't have jelly babies or any lolly things or soft drinks or things that could like irritate the braces. So I was a very obedient and hardworking child. So if someone told me that I wasn't allowed to eat something or challenged me in that way, I was going to do it. That was how I was going to be. And so I did that. I didn't drink any soft drink, I didn't have any lollies, I didn't have any nuts. I did exactly what they told me to do, and I lost some weight naturally. I started getting a little bit more compliments. Like, my family, instead of telling me that I gained weight, was like, "Oh, you're losing weight." And and people were just giving me compliments, and I'd never gotten this before in my life. I had never been giving compliments about my appearance. I'd always gotten awards for being like academic, but never for my appearance. So because I was getting all these compliments because I lost weight, I thought that the only way that people would like me is if I lost more weight. So I started reading diet magazines, I went on the internet, I researched, I started doing so much exercise, and I became obsessed. There I was, like a 13-year-old girl, reading these diet magazines that are telling her that she shouldn't be eating this stuff, that she should only be eating 1,200 calories a day, which is like a starvation amount. I developed an exercise addiction. I knew how many calories were in everything I ate, and I was just consumed by what I was eating and controlling what I was eating. There would be times when the first thing that I would do when I woke up was go and weigh myself on the scales, and the last thing I would do before I went to bed was go and weigh myself on the scales. It was just like this thing that had controlled my brain and was it became the norm for me. It was my normal. I didn't think that there was anything wrong with me. By the time I got into year 8, I had lost actually around 14 kilos. So I lost 14 kilos in around 6 months. I developed a kind of orthorexia. I didn't think I had an eating disorder. I was just a healthy eater, you know. I just lost weight in a healthy way. I never allowed myself to have any unhealthy foods. I was tracking everything I was eating. I knew how many calories it was in everything that I was eating. And yes, that was my life for like 3 years. And then year 12 happened, and year 12 was one of the hardest years of my life. For anyone, your final year of high school kind of feels like the be-all and end-all, and especially for someone who was so studious. When I say I studied so much, I had an unhealthy relationship with study. I am a person who extremes are really easy for me, but balance is really hard. Study was all I knew. My books became my friends. I was day in, day out studying. My weekends, I barely went out. I was studying the majority of the time. I used to take my cue cards to dinner with me and read them under the table. And having had so much pressure when from a younger age just to be perfect, like at study and to be top of the class, this was my final year. I needed to be the best. And a lot of other things actually happened that year with my family that was affecting me. Mum's parents, so my grandpa and my grandma, actually got quite sick. So they both had cancer. Ended up, oh, sorry guys. Sorry. So they both actually had cancer and ended up passing away at the end of the year, a month within each other. So that entire year, obviously, my mum was and mum, I don't blame my mum at all again. And then also that year, 2013 was a year when the civil war in Syria, which my whole family comes from, was becoming quite predominant in the media. My parents lost their homes, their houses were bombed, they lost family, they lost so much stuff. We had a lot of people there who just weren't safe. There was always this worry, if there had been a big bomb in my dad's hometown, I used to come home and he'd have like tears, you know. It was just not a good year and good environment to be around for someone like me. I felt like I had no control with my grandparents. I felt I had no control with life. I felt like I was getting so stressed with school that I just had no control. And that's when those eating habits, unhealthy eating habits started to come in. And every day I would wake up and I would eat exactly the same thing. I would not let myself get out of that because it was kind of like this OCD, but this OCD with food. It was like if I changed what I ate, something would change. You know, if I changed what I ate, it would just all fall apart. That's how I felt. That's how I truly was. And my grandma died just after my exams, and my grandpa actually went to hospital for the last time the day I found out my results for my ATAR score, and I actually ended up graduating as dux of my high school. So what that means if you're in America is that is like the valedictorian. So it's like the girl, like the person who got the highest grade in your class. So I got my score and I received my score of 99.2, and my parents were so happy for that morning. And then my grandpa had to go to hospital, and then he passed away on Christmas Eve. I didn't feel like I accomplished anything, or I regretted it so much. I hated myself for studying. And even though study and school and everything was so important to me, I regretted it so much. I hated that I spent so much more time with my books than with my grandparents in their final year. I hated myself for not being there for my family as much as I could have. I just did not like myself. I just regretted so much. And only my sister knew. So my sister would like that, because we didn't want to tell my parents because they were already going through so much, but my sister was like, if you don't get better by the end of the year, like we have to tell my parents. But anyways, so somehow I honestly can't remember this, like the period of grief and the time afterwards that it happened. Somehow I just developed a healthier, as my life started to gain control, like as I started to gain more control of my life and things were going okay. I did an internship in Dubai. I was going to my dream university in the next year. Things were going so good, and my relationship with food, my eating disorder kind of follows that trend. When I'm not stressed, it kind of dies down a little bit. So my relationship with food was getting so much better. I don't know how. It was still there, but it wasn't as strong as it was because I had so much more control of my life. So when I came back in 2015, I was at my dream university. I had actually just turned vegetarian, and then I found veganism, and at the start of 2015 I had the best relationship with food. I was going out and I was eating vegan yogurt, frozen yogurt, and all of these unhealthy vegan foods, and I gained weight, and I didn't think anything of it. I was loving my life, and it wasn't until I was mid 2015 that I saw a picture of myself and I gained a lot of weight. I looked a lot bigger than I was, and I wasn't even that big. It was just that eating disorder mindset that was still there. I saw myself, I was chubbier than the rest of the girls, and I was like, what? I wasn't even that big, but that's like how strong the eating disorder mindset is in your head. Like I told myself I'd let myself go. How could I like have done this? And I just felt like I just lost a part of myself. And then to top it off, I actually failed 2 of my mid-semester exams, and the lack of control was there again. And then just after that, so with all these thoughts going around in my head, I actually developed a stomach infection where I lost some weight unintentionally. And once I started losing that weight again, it triggered it. It triggered my eating disorder. I relapsed. This time there was a sense of urgency this time that was not there before. And then this relapse spiraled into one of the worst times of my life. I started exercising again. I restricted my eating again so much. I just needed to lose weight, and I needed to lose weight fast. In October and November of 2015, I honestly couldn't tell you the day that I had 3 full meals. My sister would ask me, like, when was the last time you ate a meal, and I wouldn't be able to answer her. My eating habits were so bad, I couldn't even have a meal. I was just snacking all day. Like, it was so bad. And then, like, when I had an eating disorder before, I'd never not eaten so much. I remember this one week where, I kid you not, I had around 500 calories over 5 days. I was going crazy. When I say I was going crazy, my thoughts were so irrational. When you have not eaten so much, it's not only that the eating disorder thoughts that go in your head, but it's not getting enough glucose or sugar or food or nutrients to your brain. It creates a chemical imbalance that actually, it's like scientific reasons for why people who don't eat enough go like mentally crazy. Like, the thoughts that you have are so irrational that you're a completely different person. You're not you when you have an eating disorder. You are your eating disorder. Like, the thoughts that went through my head, I was a crazy person. I would cry every 2 hours. I developed this fear, this genuine fear of food, even healthy. Like, I was so scared to eat a carrot. I was walking up the stairs and I felt faint. I could feel my body dying. My hair was falling out. I'd lost my period for so long. I would stand up and go so dizzy, and I couldn't walk down the stairs. Like, it was so bad. I remember this one night that I was in bed, and I could literally feel like my heart slowing. I could feel my body giving up on me. Like, I could literally feel my heart pounding against my chest. And I was in bed, and I didn't know if I was going to wake up the next morning. I really didn't. I thought that tonight was going to be it. And the scary thing is that I didn't care. Like I didn't care if I did go, as long as escape this mentality. I could wake up and food could not be the first thing on my mind and the last thing that I think of when I go to bed, that I could get through my day without these thoughts, that I would be free. Like, I didn't care. And then the next morning I woke up and I knew I had an eating, like at this point I knew I had an eating disorder, except I never admitted it. And it wasn't until that night that I was hopping out of the shower and I saw my reflection of myself in the mirror in my phone, and I was like, no, this isn't me, like this can't be me. And I brought out my phone and my camera, and I put it in the mirror and I took a photo of myself. In my head, I thought I looked like a person with an eating disorder. Like, I looked like someone who was sick, and that was it for me. I went straight down the stairs and I showed my parents, because that whole time I'd been wearing tracksuits and jumpers, so they never really saw my body. But I showed them what I looked like, and my mum started crying and my dad started crying, and my dad just hugged me, and it just changed everything. And so then the next day I went straight to my doctors. Like, my blood pressure was so low, my vitals were so low. If I had left it 2 more days, I would not be here anymore. I was 48 kilos at a height of 6 foot tall. I was so close to dying. Like, then that was the start of my recovery process. I needed to go to an inpatient program, but I couldn't do it. I was vegan. They were going to be force feeding me meat and all this food through tubes. I was just not going to go to an inpatient program. And at that point I was looking into outpatient programs, so I was too of a low weight. I was at too much of a low weight for outpatient programs to take me. So I was stuck in this leeway where I wanted to get better, but no one would help me unless it was against my will, you know. Like, I wanted to get better for me. I didn't want them to be putting all these tubes and these food things through me. So my mum was like, okay, so how are you going to eat? How are you going to get you to eat? And I told her that the only way that I was going to eat is if someone was eating with me. So I needed someone to tell me that it was okay to eat, to show that it was okay to eat. So the next morning we started this plan of eating breakfast, lunch and dinner together, and she came home from work, and my dad was working and took her cover, and they were just there for me. They were just there for me. Like, am I calling my dad? My dad would call me on the hour after. My dad was calling me on the hour just to make sure I was still here. My mum stayed home with me. We had our first breakfast together, my first meal. So this was a photo of my first meal with my mum. And we started the recovery process. And the recovery process is so much harder than people think. So that month after, I was pretty much just trying to stay alive. I was not living. I didn't really tell my friends. I didn't want to. I didn't want to put anything on them. This is why I'm really nervous to make this, because not even my closest friends or my family know this story. So recovery is so much harder than what people think. It is like, recovery is almost as hard as the eating disorder itself. I couldn't finish a full meal, let alone 5 bites of a meal. My body, I went through refeeding syndrome, and that's when, like, your body is so not used to eating that I couldn't keep anything up. I was throwing up after every meal. I was burping after every meal. The pain associated with eating again wasn't, like, I almost didn't want to get better. Not because I didn't want to get better, but I just didn't want to feel pain again. It was so hard. Like, that's when you know how much you've messed up your body, when you can't even do the simple thing of eating again. I was like, what is wrong with me? I felt even more crazy than I was with an eating disorder. And there were so many times that I wanted to give up, and the pain was so there. Just the whole process of your body trying to work again and just staying alive. It's one of the hardest things. It is tough, guys. It is so tough, but it is so worth it in the end. Like, it is so worth it. Like, you just have to. know that it's not going to last, and you just have to be consistent, and you just have to keep thinking about recovery and getting better. I couldn't have done it without my family's support. But my sister was the one I hurt the most. I am so sorry. For everything that happened. Just thank you for being there for me that whole time, and I couldn't have done it without you. Yeah, so I eventually started to gain a little bit of weight, and I gained enough weight to go into an outpatient program. So I began my outpatient therapy, and I had a team of doctors and a psychologist, and now I'm here. And even though this video is probably going to be so long, and I'm so sorry for it, there's just a couple of things that I want to say to the families of people who have eating disorders, of their parents, their sisters, their grandparents, their everyone. You just have to know that the person going through that eating disorder is not themselves right now. Like, they are so sorry for all the panic attacks and all the screaming and the fighting, and like, it's not them right now. They are not in the right mind state. My mum and my dad, like, please don't blame yourself or feel guilty or anything about it. It's not you, it was me. And you just have to stick by them, and you just have to, just for this time, just hop it a little bit, and just know that it's all going to be okay in the end, as long as you just keep supporting them and just trying to understand and just helping them to society. I know that things are changing now, and that we're celebrating more different body types, but there was a point where it was really bad, and we still have to save those girls who are stuck in that mindset and still trying to achieve these goals that are not realistic. You need to save these girls and guys from doing this to themselves. Like, these models, these girls, they don't even look like that in real life. Like, how are we meant to look like that normally, you know? We need to stop putting this expectation on this unattainable goal out there that these girls and guys will try and look like. We need to step up. We need to tell people that it's okay to eat. You don't have to be living your life on a diet. There is so much more to life than this, you know? Like, you affect people in so many more ways than you know, and you have to be more responsible for it. We need to be more responsible for it. And then to the people with eating disorders at the moment, guys or girls, if you have an eating disorder right now, if you're watching this video and you can relate, just know that you are worth so much more than your eating disorder, and you are worth so much more than what you look like. You deserve to nourish your body with food and see it as not the enemy, but things that are going to make your hair grow longer and your skin glow and your bones stronger and you happier. And like, life is about so much more than your appearance. Life is about how you act. Life is about being happy, and who cares if you don't look like a Victoria's Secret model along the way, you know? Like, people are not friends with you because of what you look like. Like, people are friends with you and love you because of who you are as a person, and your humor and your kindness and your compassion and your caring. You are so much more than your looks. I know what you're going through and how scary it is and how hard the recovery process is going to be, and I'm not going to tell you that it's easy. I'm not going to tell you that it's this smooth sailing trip that you're just going to recover and you're going to get better. No, you are going to fall, and you're going to fall down hard, but it's all about getting up that counts. And you just need to know that as long as you keep getting and trying to get better every day, that it's going to be worth it. And you deserve to get better. You deserve to live. Yeah, that's my story. I'm so sorry if this was a really long video. Thank you guys so much for sticking by me. Like, thank you. I could go endlessly. Thank you to my family, my friends, for just being there for me, and for you guys for just supporting me. And I really hope that this was able to help someone. If it has, I wish you all the best in your recovery. Sending you all of my love and support, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.